Hello, today we are going to talk about the pros and cons of solo travel after 60. So stay tuned. So I believe we can rethink and redesign our retirement lifestyle no matter what our budget is. Many of you know I've been on the road entering my third year as a solo nomad with no permanent home. So far it's going well. But there are some pros and cons. One of the big pros for me is empowerment and the ability to make any decision you want, anytime you want, and taking full responsibility for it, because sometimes they aren't good decisions. But I'll give you an instance. I'm transitioning between East Bay, San Francisco, and Newport Beach in Southern California. Decided to make 2 days of it. I got into Santa Barbara and realized the traffic through LA was going to be bad. So I said, well, let me see what's in Santa Barbara. And there's beautiful beaches there. And I randomly picked one. I didn't need to ask anybody. I didn't need to seek permission. And I found Hendry's Beach, enjoyed the most wonderful Eggs Benedict California style, literally on the beach, and then took a beautiful 40-minute walk. The con of that, I was eating alone. But you know what? I'm sort of used to that. I keep myself busy taking photographs of the food and the environment. And I enjoy, my meal. I tend to eat kind of slowly when I'm alone, especially the beach in Santa Barbara, because I wanted to relax a bit after the drive. So, pro is I could decide where I wanted to go, when I wanted to go, and where I wanted to go. The con was I made all those decisions alone, and I ended up eating alone. And that sort of just happens when you're solo traveling. I kind of feel personally that they balance each other out. One of the other pros is discovering new skills. It could be map reading, it could be navigation, it could be figuring out where and how you want to live or stay or book a hotel. Also, the skill part of it. I've posted a little bit about my pottery classes that I took when I was in Berkeley, and I'm looking for more of them now in Newport. Languages, learning a new language. I've taken French and Spanish. The pro of that is that I also got to meet people. So being in environments where you are not solo and sort of forcing yourself into those environments, the con is you might be uncomfortable. And maybe the con is you don't feel like being with people. So you have to balance sort of the solo travel with finding opportunities to be with people. Because the other con is loneliness, and that's a big one. I think it's a big one, whether you live alone, you're traveling alone, you're being alone. And I just think that that's something that we have to overcome. And I know it's really hard. To get over the loneliness of traveling alone or living alone, you sort of have to force yourself into situations where you aren't. And the pottery classes, potters are very chatty people, so it was a really lovely environment to be in, to meet new people. The language classes, needless to say, you meet people and then you all want to learn together, and so you go out for a coffee and only speak Spanish or only speak French. But if you're alone, it's unlikely as a solo traveler or living alone that opportunity or someone is going to come knocking at your door. And so this can be a difficult challenge in terms of forcing yourself to find people. Yesterday I went swimming and I was there alone for the first 30 or 40 minutes, and then a mom and daughter showed up and they were walking in the pool after, I was already done and sort of drying off, and we just had a lovely conversation. So finding those opportunities to have conversations serendipitously or on purpose is really important to battle the loneliness or the solo travel loneliness that you might get. One of the pros is decision making. And I guess that could be a pro or a con. If you're good at decision making, it's great because you don't have to ask anybody. There can be the con of anxiety. Am I making the right decision? Did I go in the right direction? Where should I go? Where should I stay? So I think the pro of being able to have the autonomy to do anything you want may come along with the anxiety of, am I making the right decision? My mom, when we traveled way back in the day, when we didn't have cell phones, it wasn't a concern, but our question was, are we lost? And my mom's response to that was, we are never lost as long as we have a full tank of gas. And she always made sure we had a full tank of gas. So the idea of making a wrong decision means that you're going to make a U-turn somewhere, or that you may have gotten off the freeway at the wrong point or taken the wrong freeway in the wrong direction. All of these are easy course corrections. and how you deal with them is actually very empowering. So yes, it can be anxiety, bringing on a little bit of anxiety and a con in solo travel. But there's also the pro of figuring it out and learning about yourself and learning something new, or saying, well, I won't make that mistake again. And I think that water off the duck's back and just brushing things off and saying, okay, I learned that, tick it off, and I'm moving on, is a part of solo travel or living alone. So I think that's got a pro and a con to it. Things about traveling alone, which is wonderful. The con is it can be more expensive traveling alone. And I can see that on a yes or a no basis. Absolutely, on the cruise thing, the whole single supplement thing, if you want to go on cruises, is increasing your costs for sure. But if you are a savvy traveler, the pro is that you can find some really low single supplement cruises, like 0 single supplements, 50% single supplements. So really using your skills at research and figuring out on a repositioning cruise from the United States over to Europe, from the United States to Australia or back, or from Asia, can be a lot less expensive. So you can travel alone, or you can find a roommate or a travel buddy. So that could be a pro or a con, depending on how it works out, right? But I prefer the solo travel. Expenses can be higher. I will tell you though, on the land-based idea, again, this movement from San Francisco down to Newport Beach, I decided to take 2 days to do it instead of one big drive. And I did some research. I work with, I use American Airlines hotels because I get points when I book through them. And I found a hotel room in San Luis Obispo for less than $100, $96 for the night. It was very basic. It was in a great location. It wasn't fancy, but the place was spotless. And so safety and cleanliness are two big ones for me. And I read the reviews online. It ended up being a real gem, free parking. You know, it was a small hotel. So that was only $96 for the night. Perfect. It was an overnight. I came in late. I left early. It fit the bill. And then to get down to Newport, I had one more night, and I wanted to get past the Los Angeles traffic. So I found another great one for $180, and that was $180 because I decided to double my miles on that one. And a basic hotel, but it had a pool, and it was one of those old 60s motels from California that had been redone. Both of these hotels had replaced all the carpet, so they had the laminate floors, which I prefer any day over carpet in a hotel. Between that, the 90 and the 180 is $270 for 2 nights in hotels in California by myself. That actually worked out pretty well, and I found free charging for my car while I was on the road. So I think there is an expense about traveling alone, but you can also manage that. And so the pro for me is I'm traveling alone. The con is it can be more expensive, but the pro is you're using some serious skills at trying to find a good deal or something that's more comfortable. And it's sort of funny when I have one night stays, I'm going, oh, let me just stay at the Four Seasons. It's only one night, or some really posh place. And then I convince myself, no, don't spend that money in a posh place for one night. No, just keep going, find something good. And I always look at the reviews to make sure that safety is mentioned and cleanliness is mentioned. And I look for solo travelers who have talked about that. So again, you're learning travel skills or how to get better yourself at how you're traveling and where you're traveling and finding good deals for your budget. One of the pros is getting comfortable with yourself. And I think that during COVID, many of us learned that we were good by ourselves, and some of us learned that we were not. But we had to figure out how to cope and how to be alone. And one of the things that I use is photography to sort of hide the loneliness and look busy. So I take a lot of pictures and then I look back on them, and that becomes sort of a journal to me of where I've been and what I've accomplished. Some people journal, and I do that digitally on my iPad and just make some notes at the end of the day as to what's happened, and maybe even give me some ideas for posting to YouTube or Instagram. And I use my photography a lot to capture moments. I think the con of that is I see some beautiful photographs and YouTube videos from friends and other YouTubers, and It's hard to do that when you're alone. A selfie stick only goes so far. I'm still not comfortable on this side of the camera, I'll be perfectly honest with you. But when you want a really nice selfie, or you want to do some nice video or something to remember with you in it, the con is there's no one to help you do that. I mean, there's only so far you can ask a stranger to take a picture. So in the pros and cons of solo travel and living alone, we can make it any way we want it to be. And we just have to get over things sometimes. And that's a pro, is empowering ourselves and challenging ourselves to get over whatever our greatest fears might be, or learning something new. So I encourage you to figure it out and don't let the pros and cons get in the way. Let life lead you and take you where you want to go. And one of my favorite sayings is, leap and a net will appear. It's worked for me for many, many years, and I really haven't hurt myself badly. I may have fallen and skinned my knee, but I got back up and brushed myself off and started again. And I wish you the same. See you next time.